Streaming platforms like Netflix and Hulu have made it easier than ever to watch a whole season of a show in one sitting. But can binge watching be bad for you? We are delving into this topic today with Dr. Gregory Jantz. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Such a great topic. So,
and
topic. You're missing what program?
I don't know. I was confessing that while I don't think I've ever binge watched a whole season. Every now and then there's a Saturday where, nobody's home and I just want to watch 4 episodes of Big Little Lies. Is that a big problem?
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
So over 60% of the viewers of like Netflix confess to watching more than 6 episodes of something in a row. So, but
Not guilty.
No, okay.
Not guilty.
Now here's the danger. Shall we just jump into the danger?
Go ahead.
Okay.
If you must.
Okay. Now, it's easy to fall into this, and we get our dopamine levels up, but that's that reward chemical in the brain. So I can watch this show, oh good, watch the next one, and I'm continue to raise that dopamine. That's the feel-good chemical.
Right.
So I feel good doing this. I'm probably eating, so as I watch, so usually when we talk about binging, we're usually doing something else besides just watching.
Interesting.
So people are usually eating, and it's their little isolated cocoon time. And we say, well, I do that for stress release. But guess what? Over time, you keep doing this, you want more and more of that feel-good chemical, but you actually stress yourself out more. And you release another chemical called cortisol.
Really?
That's the stress chemical from basically the adrenal glands.
Now, is that because you need more and more watching to feel
You
good,
do,
or
but
the cortisol just happens?
But you get exhausted from the intensity. So two
Got
things
it.
we look at: time and how intense it is. So the more time, the more intense, the more my body gets pumped.
Okay, that makes sense.
So the next word's addiction. You want me to okay.
I have nothing to say. I have no defense.
Well, it's kind of like, okay, so now I look forward to doing this again because it mood elevated. It caused me to feel good for a period of time, but then there was a letdown. So it's up, down, emotionally. So there is a danger, and I'll use the word digital addiction.
Is that an actual diagnosis these days?
So it's probably what we'll call a pending diagnosis that will end up in what we call the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. So that's one that's been trying to get into that category, because those in the field, and I'll just tell you, I'm from the center, a place of hope, and one of the things that we see is digital addiction. How do you know if you have it? Okay.
How do you know?
Well, okay, so let's say we take your devices, we put them away, and you can't do any screens. 3 days have passed. You got sweaty palms, your heart rate's up, you feel irritable, you feel depressed, and you say, I've got to have my whatever. This is what we see oftentimes with our clients. That they start to go through some withdrawal symptoms.
Interesting.
Physical withdrawal symptoms.
How do you deal with this then? If somebody comes in and they've been doing this and they're used to doing this as a calming mechanism or whatever they're doing, while they're watching these shows, then what is the treatment for that?
I would prefer if people didn't watch alone. I want you to enjoy your program. Hey, that's great. But also decide ahead of time, be proactive. I'm going to watch 2 episodes. I have this amount of time. And if you're alone, but tell somebody, set a timer and actually make a decision ahead of time how much time I'm going to give to this. So break it up in segments over time. That's one thing you can do. Also, make a decision. I'm not going to eat and watch this program.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Because I end up overeating, I end up regret. So see how much tea or water you can drink during a program. That'll get you up.
Make that a contest. So let's say somebody in your family has this problem, and I know that there's a generational difference in this, how we feel about people looking at their phones while we're talking or at the dinner table or whatever else. But if somebody else has got this sort of problem you're talking about, where there's 6 hours and there's eating and they're alone and yada, yada, yada. How do you address that without driving them further away?
Yeah, and it's delicate because we tend to be hypersensitive because somebody's pointing out a potential flaw. It's like,
or taking away something that we want.
So if it's interfering with your relationships, it's a problem. So make some basic rules. No devices at the dinner table. If I'm with somebody, really be with them. If you got 50 notifications going off when you're talking to somebody, that's a little distracting. So it's okay to take brief pauses. I call it digital detox. There's times where you need to turn off the notifications, be fully present with the person you're with. before I came in here to see you, my phone's somewhere around the corner, right? I can't have any distractions. I want to be fully present. Use that as a rule.
In your house with people who are growing up.
If you're going out to coffee, you're going with somebody.
But there are other adults, right? You know, you go to coffee, 4 or 5 friends go to coffee. Sure. It's hard to lay down the law about that, but I guess you could say, could we agree that blah, blah.
You might want to do something like, let's say you have some guest over. Hey, we're going to do something different. And you pass around a basket and all the devices go into the basket just for a period of time.
And see what happens.
Oh, yes.
If you're worried about yourself, you know, if you are trying to take measure of, you know, because we've all been into that thing where, oh, this is a really good series, and I'm looking forward to watching an episode every night when I get home from work. How do you make a check on yourself that this is something you can live without, that you don't, you know, now have this kind of dependency on trying to find something that'll entertain you and take you away for you know, a period of time every single day?
So, Margaret, I have a son at home, and there was something that came out called Mandalorian.
Yes.
Yeah, but they were strategic in how
they... Can't that be an exception?
They were strategic in how they did this, though, because there was only so many released at a time.
Right.
So, but there's that anticipation. I think it's fun when there's an anticipation. Hey, we're going to watch this because, you know, the next one's being released. But I think we need to look at physical activity. So break it up. A lot of times we need to integrate more physical activity. So if you go out, take that 25-minute walk, guess what? That'll change your environment. So often we're used to doing the same thing. We sit down on the sofa, we turn on the digital screens, we have the television on, we have the iPad, and we got the cell phone, and we're screen overload. Another rule to use, 1 hour before sleep time or bedtime, turn it off, put it away, begin the process, because digital overstimulation can affect our sleep stages.
Let's talk about that. There's actual research about that. What does it do when you're on your screen until the moment that you're wanting to go to sleep?
Well, we're overstimulating the brain for one thing. So now we're pumping chemicals, right? The dopamine. It interferes with another chemical called serotonin, which has to do with sleep. So you don't want to overstimulate the brain. Give it about an hour. There's something called blue light. And, you know, this is why you have a feature now on your phones. You can, you know, turn off the blue light, which is a really good thing to do. So it really does, it's a physiological issue we're dealing with because we're amping up the body. It's kind of like having, you know, 3 cups of coffee before you go to bed.
Before you go to bed. Is it okay if I read a book?
Yes.
Because it doesn't have that light.
It doesn't have that light. But also have what I call a good sleep hygiene, your pre-sleep routine. So one is, you know, I'm going to do the same things most nights. And one is, I'm just going to begin to put my device away. So,
and go from there.
I have family, I have kids, and I'll send out a text. Good night, everybody. It's kind of like my signing off.
Right. I'm out at that point. Thank you. These are good things for us to challenge ourselves with and to add up all the different screen time in our lives so that we are sure we're actually out there living them. Thank you so much, Dr. Jantz.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.